How wolves became dogs. The greatest evolutionary partnership in history imagined, waking up 15,000 years ago. There are no cities stretching across the horizon, no roads leading to distant lands, no farms, no markets, no comfortable homes waiting for you after a long day. Every morning begins with uncertainty, and every sunset is a victory. Survival isn't a goal. It's the only thing that matters. The forests of Eurasia are breathtaking, but beauty means nothing when every shadow could hide a predator. The bitter cold claims lives every winter. Hunger follows you wherever you go. One failed hunt can mean days without food. One careless mistake can cost your life. This is the world your ancestors called home. As darkness falls, your small hunting band gathers around a fire. The flames crackle softly, pushing back the endless sea of darkness surrounding your camp. The warmth offers comfort, but only within a few meters. Beyond the flickering light, the wilderness still belongs to something else. Then you hear it, a faint rustle, another. Branches snap somewhere beyond the edge of the firelight. Conversations stop immediately. Hands tighten around stone-tipped spears. Everyone stares into the darkness. For several long seconds, nothing happens. Then two glowing yellow eyes appear. A wolf. It doesn't charge. It doesn't run. It simply stands there, silently watching the strange creatures gathered around the fire. You stare back. Every instinct tells you to throw your spear before it attacks. The wolf's instincts are just as powerful. It should either flee from these dangerous humans or attempt to drive them away. Yet neither side moves, minutes pass. Eventually, the wolf slowly turns around and disappears into the darkness as quietly as it arrived. To anyone witnessing that moment, it would seem completely meaningless. Nothing happened, no fight, no hunt, no victory, no death. But history would remember it very differently, because somewhere, sometime, encounters just like this happened again, and again, and again. Across thousands of camps scattered throughout Eurasia, wolves and humans slowly became accustomed to one another. Neither species realized it. But say, we're taking the first tiny steps toward one of the most extraordinary partnerships evolution has ever produced. Today, dogs live almost everywhere humans do. They guide the blind, protect families, rescue survivors trapped beneath collapsed buildings, detect diseases that even modern medical equipment sometimes misses, comfort soldiers suffering from trauma, help police track criminals, guard livestock high in the mountains, sleep beside children, and somehow, every one of them traces its ancestry back to the gray wolf, a predator once feared by every human who crossed its path. It almost sounds impossible. How can one of nature's most efficient hunters become an animal that eagerly waits by the front door just to greet its owner after work? How can the same species that once chased mammoths across frozen plains evolve into companions that wear colorful sweaters, celebrate birthdays, and refuse to eat unless their food is served in the right bowl? The answer is far more fascinating than most people imagine. For centuries, people believed humans deliberately transformed wolves into dogs. The story was simple and comforting. A prehistoric hunter discovered an abandoned litter of wolf pups, brought them home, raised them with kindness, and over countless generations, those wolves slowly became dogs. It makes for a wonderful story. The only problem is that science suggests it almost certainly never happened that way. Modern wolves are remarkably intelligent, highly social animals, but they are also deeply wild. Even wolves raised by humans from the day they are born rarely develop the behavior of domestic dogs. They may tolerate people they know, but their instincts remain those of apex predators. They mature differently, communicate differently, respond differently to stress, and never completely lose the caution that has helped wolves survive for hundreds of thousands of years. Zoos understand this well. Zoos understand. Conservation centers understand it. Raising a wolf is not the same as raising a puppy. That realization forced scientists to ask a completely different question. If humans didn't intentionally domesticate wolves, then who did? Surprisingly, the strongest scientific evidence points toward an answer that sounds almost unbelievable. The wolves began the process themselves. Around 15 to 40,000 years ago, humans were becoming increasingly successful hunters. Working together in groups, they could bring down enormous animals that no individual predator could kill alone. Successful hunts created something that had never really existed before in large quantities: waste. Bones stripped of meat, discarded organs, scraps too small to bother collecting. For humans, this was garbage. For a hungry wolf, it was an opportunity unlike anything nature had ever offered. Imagine discovering a place where food appears almost every day without needing to chase dangerous prey across miles of frozen wilderness. Some wolves noticed, most stayed away. The boldest and most aggressive animals avoided humans completely, seeing them as dangerous rivals. But a few wolves were different. They were slightly less fearful, slightly more curious, slightly more willing to approach the edge of a human camp after everyone had gone to sleep. Those cautious scavengers found easy meals, and easy meals meant better survival. Better survival meant more offsprings, zealation after generation. Natural selection quietly rewarded wolves that were calmer around humans. No one planned it. No one even noticed it. Yet, evolution had already begun writing one of the greatest stories in the history of life. Zealation after generation. Something remarkable began to happen. The wolves that lingered near human camps were no longer exactly like the wolves living deep in the wilderness. They were calmer, less aggressive, more tolerant of unfamiliar sights and sounds. Instead of fleeing the moment they smelled smoke or heard human voices, they waited patiently at the edge of camp, hoping another pile of discarded bones would appear. At first, humans barely noticed them. Life during the Stone Age was brutally demanding. Every day revolved around hunting, gathering food, protecting children, and surviving another night. Nobody was trying to create a new species. But evolution doesn't need a plan. It only needs small advantages repeated over thousands of generations. The wolves that remained fearful continued hunting wild prey. Some succeeded. Many didn't. Food was unpredictable. Injuries were common, and harsh winters claimed countless lives. Meanwhile, the calmer wolves discovered something extraordinary. Humans were surprisingly reliable. Where humans hunted, leftovers appeared. Where leftovers appeared, wolves no longer needed to waste precious energy chasing dangerous animals. For the first time in their evolutionary history, survival depended less on strength and more on temperament. The friendlier wolves ate more often. The better-fed wolves raised healthier pups. Those pups inherited the same calm personalities. Then they raised pups of their own. Slowly, almost invisibly, the entire population living near humans began changing. And then something even stranger happened. Their bodies began to change as well. For centuries, this seemed impossible. Why would becoming less afraid of humans change the shape of an animal's ears? Why would it affect tail length, coat color, facial structure? Scientists had no satisfying explanation until the middle of the 20th century, when one remarkable experiment transformed everything we thought we knew about domestication. The scientist responsible was Russian geneticist Dmitry Belyaev. Working during the 1950s, Belyaev wanted to answer a deceptively simple question. How does a wild animal become domesticated? Instead of studying wolves, which would have taken decades and enormous resources, he chose silver foxes raised on fur farms. His experiment was astonishingly simple. Every generation, he tested hundreds of foxes. He ignored their size, ignored their appearance, ignored the quality of their fur. He selected only one characteristic. Which foxes showed the least fear of humans? Those calm foxes became the parents of the next generation. Then he repeated the process again and again. What happened next shocked the scientific community. Within only a few generations, the foxes didn't just become friendlier. Studios, their ears started drooping, their tails curled, white patches appeared across their coats, their faces became shorter and rounder, their hormone seasons changed. Some even began barking, wagging their tails, wagging their tails and seeking human attention almost exactly like domestic dogs. Belyaev had never selected for floppy ears. He never selected for spotted fur. He never selected for wagging tails. He only selected for friendliness. Yet every other change arrived automatically. Today, scientists call this collection of linked traits domestication syndrome. It revealed something extraordinary. Genes influencing fear and aggression are deeply connected to many other aspects of an animal's development. Chapter 1. And many others change with it. Suddenly, the transformation from wolf to dog became much easier to understand. Ancient wolves didn't gradually become dogs because humans carefully bred them for thousands of specific physical features. Instead, the very first selection pressure was incredibly simple. The wolves that feared humans the least survived better. Everything else followed naturally. Seats, floppy ears, curled tails, smaller teeth, friendlier faces, playful personalities, even the ability to communicate with humans more effectively. Nature had created an unexpected shortcut. As wolves became safer to approach, humans also began behaving differently toward them. Imagine watching the same wolf appear outside your camp every evening. At first, everyone remains cautious. But weeks become months, months become years. The animal never attacks. Instead, it quietly waits for scraps after every successful hunt. Eventually, someone tosses it a bone intentionally. The wolf hesitates, then slowly walks forward. It grabs the food and retreats. The next day, it comes back, and the next. Its pups begin following behind it. Those pups grow up seeing humans not only as dangerous competitors, but also as a possible source of food. Likewise, human children grow up seeing wolves nearby without immediately assuming they must be killed. Fear slowly transforms into familiarity. Familiarity becomes tolerance. Tolerance eventually becomes cooperation. No treaty was signed, no language was spoken. Yet two completely different species were quietly negotiating one of history's greatest alliances. Humans soon realized these animals offered more than companionship. Their hearing was sharper. Their sense of smell was astonishing. Long before people noticed danger approaching, the wolves reacted first. They barked, growled, stared into the darkness. Whether the threat came from rival human groups, bears, cave hyenas, or other wolves, these early companions became a living alarm system. That warning often meant the difference between life and death. The relationship had become mutually beneficial. The wolves received reliable food and relative safety. Humans gained extra eyes, extra ears, and powerful hunting partners capable of tracking prey across vast landscapes. Neither species could have predicted where this partnership would eventually lead. Yet, with every passing generation, the bond only grew stronger. The partnership continued to strengthen with every generation. At first, wolves merely followed human camps from a safe distance. Then they began sleeping closer to the fire. Soon, they were traveling alongside hunting parties. Without realizing it, humans had gained something no other predator possessed, a partner with senses far beyond their own. A human could spot movement. A wolf could smell it from nearly a mile away. A human could hear a branch snap. A wolf could distinguish the footsteps of a deer from those of another predator long before anyone else noticed. Together, they became far more effective than either species could ever be alone. Imagine a hunting expedition across the frozen plains of Ice Age Eurasia. A herd of reindeer crosses the valley. The humans can see only the animals standing in the open. The wolves already know where the rest of the herd is moving. Their noses detect scent carried by the wind. Their ears capture sounds too faint for human hearing. Instead of relying on luck, hunters suddenly possess information no human senses could provide. The wolves flush prey from thick forests. Humans wait with spears. When wounded animals attempt to escape or bouses, wolves pursue them relentlessly while humans follow behind. The success rate of hunts increases. More successful hunts mean more food. More successful hunts mean healthier children. Healthier children survive the harsh winters. In this way, the relationship between humans and wolves may have influenced far more than hunting. It may have shaped the survival of entire communities. Researchers today believe that groups with early dogs may have held a significant advantage over neighboring groups that hunted alone. Better protection, better tracking, better hunting efficiency, earlier warning of danger. Each advantage seems small on its own. Combined over thousands of years, they become enormous. This may explain why dogs spread alongside humans so quickly. As human populations migrated across Europe, Asia, and eventually into the Americas, their four-legged companions traveled with them. By roughly 10,000 years ago, something remarkable appears in the archaeological record: humans, burials. But they are no longer alone. Beside many ancient skeletons lie the remains of dogs, not butchered for food, not discarded as tools, carefully placed beside their owners. In one grave, a human hand rests gently upon the body of a dog. Another burial shows a dog positioned as though still sleeping next to the person it had followed throughout life. These discoveries tell us something extraordinary. By this point, dogs were no longer simply useful animals. They had become companions, family. Think about what that truly means. Life during the Stone Age was unimaginably difficult. Most people rarely lived beyond 40 years. Disease was common. Injuries often proved fatal. Food shortages happened regularly. Every calorie mattered. Every resource had value. Yet, even under those brutal conditions, humans chose to bury their dogs with care and respect. They invested precious time digging graves, not only for one another, but also for the animals that had shared their lives. That decision speaks louder than any written record ever could. Love leaves evidence too, not through words, but through actions. Some archaeologists even argue that dogs represent humanity's very first emotional relationship with another species. Unlike sheep, goats, or cattle, dogs were never valued only for meat or labor. From the beginning, they occupied a unique place. They worked beside humans, protected them, warned them, played with their children, slept beside their fires. And when they died, they were mourned. That emotional bond continues today, almost unchanged. Millions of people celebrate their dogs' birthdays, buy them toys, cook special meals, take them on vacations, spend thousands of dollars on medical care. When a beloved dog dies, the grief often resembles losing a close family member. Modern neuroscience even helps explain why. When a dog looks directly into its owner's eyes, both brains release oxytocin, the hormone associated with trust, affection, and the bond between parents and children. Very few animals naturally trigger this response in humans. Dogs do, and humans trigger the exact same response in dogs. This creates a biological feedback loop. The more humans cared for friendly dogs, the stronger the emotional connection became. The stronger the connection became, the more those dogs survived and reproduced. Evolution was no longer shaping only the dogs, it was shaping us as well. Our ancestors gradually became a species capable of forming deep emotional relationships with another predator. In return, that predator evolved to understand us better than any other animal on Earth. It was not domination, it was co-evolution. Two species changing together, each making the other stronger. And perhaps the most incredible transformation was still waiting to happen. As the bond between humans and dogs grew stronger, evolution began moving faster than anyone could have imagined. For thousands of years, natural selection had done most of the work. Only the calmest wolves survived near people. Only the friendliest passed their genes to the next generation. But eventually, humans took control of the process. Instead of simply accepting whichever animals happened to stay nearby, people began choosing which dogs would breed. At first, those choices were practical. A hunter with an exceptional sense of smell. A shepherd valued dogs that naturally gathered wandering animals instead of chasing them away. Villages, surrounded by dangerous predators, favored fearless guardians willing to confront wolves or bears. Every community had different needs, and dogs slowly adapted to meet them. Generation after generation, humans unknowingly became one of evolution's most powerful forces. No laboratory, no understanding of genetics, just observation. This dog hunts better. That one protects children. This one never bites us. Those puppies learn quickly. The best animals were allowed to reproduce. The others were not taught. Thousands of years later, the results surrounded humanity. The transformation was astonishing. The sleek body of the gray wolf gradually split into hundreds of different forms. Some dogs became enormous. Others became unbelievably small. Some developed thick coats capable of surviving Arctic winters. Others evolved short fur suited for deserts and tropical climates. Certain breeds could sprint faster than almost any other land animal. Others possessed incredible endurance, capable of running for hours without tiring. Some excelled at following scent trails several days old. Studio. Others could locate birds hidden in dense grass simply by freezing in place and pointing toward them. No wild animal displays such extraordinary diversity within a single species. A Chihuahua and a Great Dane look as though they belong to completely different branches of evolution. Yet genetically, they are astonishingly similar. Both remain descendants of the same ancient gray wolves that once circled human campfires thousands of years ago. Perhaps the most remarkable transmission, however, wasn't physical. It happened inside the brain. Dogs began developing an extraordinary ability unlike anything seen in wolves. They learned to understand humans. If you point toward an object, a dog instinctively follows your finger. A wolf usually doesn't. Even wolves, raised by humans from birth, often struggle to interpret simple pointing gestures. Dogs rarely do. This ability appears almost effortlessly. Scientists have discovered that puppies, only a few weeks old, can already understand many human social signals without extensive training. It is as though evolution prepared them for a world built around people before they even opened their eyes. Their attention naturally focuses on humans' faces, human voices, human emotions. Dogs constantly watch us for information. They study our expressions, notice subtle movements, recognize changes in tone. Many owners swear their dogs know when they are happy, frightened, angry, or heartbroken. Modern research suggests they may be right. Brain imaging studies reveal that dogs process human facial expressions and vocal emotions using specialized regions remarkably similar to our own. They don't merely hear us, they interpret us. This ability became one of the greatest survival advantages any domesticated animal has ever evolved. The better a dog understood people, the better people cared for that dog. Over thousands of generations, communication itself became part of evolution. Then there are the famous puppy eyes. Almost everyone has experienced them. A dog tilts its head slightly, raises its eyebrows. Its eyes suddenly appear, larger, softer, almost pleading. Within seconds, most humans feel an overwhelming urge to comfort it. This expression isn't an accident. Researchers discovered that domestic dogs possess tiny facial muscles that wolves either lack or use far less frequently. Those muscles allow dogs to create expressions humans instinctively interpret as sadness, affection, or vulnerability. Whether dogs consciously understand the effect hardly matters. The result is the same. Humans respond. We feed them, protect them, forgive them, loathe them. In an extraordinary twist of evolution, dogs developed facial expressions perfectly suited to influencing human emotions. It wasn't manipulation in the way we usually think of it. It was natural selection. Dogs that connected emotionally with humans survived better. Their offspring inherited the same expressive faces. Maintained generation after generation, that connection deepened. By the time civilization began rising across Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and later Europe, dogs had already secured a permanent place beside humanity. Empires would rise and collapse, languages would disappear, religions would change, borders would move countless times. But wherever humans built new societies, dogs were there beside them, watching, working, waiting, always ready to follow us into whatever unknown future lay ahead. For most of human history, dogs were not luxury companions, they were essential. A family without a good dog often faced greater danger than a family without many possessions. A barking dog could warn an entire village that strangers were approaching long before anyone else noticed. A skilled hunting dog could mean the difference between a successful hunt and an empty stomach. In the frozen north, dogs pulled sleds across landscapes where horses could never survive. Across vast deserts, they guarded livestock through long, dangerous nights. On isolated farms, they protected children while adults worked in distant fields. Everywhere humans settled, dogs found another purpose. As civilizations expanded, so did the variety of jobs dogs performed. Ancient Egyptians honored certain dogs with elaborate burials. The Greeks wrote about loyal hunting companions in their literature. The Romans marched into battle with powerful war dogs, wearing protective armor. In Asia, specialized breeds were developed for guarding temples, herding animals, and assisting hunters through dense forests. Every culture shaped dogs differently, yet every culture recognized the same truth. These animals were unlike any other. Unlike horses, dogs stayed close even when no work remained. Unlike cattle, they formed emotional bonds with individual people. Unlike cats, whose partnership with humans developed largely through pest control, dogs actively looked to humans for guidance. Some scientists describe dogs as the only animal that truly evolved to understand our social world. That statement may sound exaggerated, but the evidence is surprisingly convincing. Dogs constantly seek eye contact. They watch where we walk, they notice where we point, they listen to changes in our voices. They often react to our emotions before we consciously express them ourselves. Even more remarkably, dogs appear capable of distinguishing between intentional and accidental human actions. If you accidentally drop food on the floor, many dogs hesitate. If you deliberately offer it, they respond differently. These subtle social judgments require sophisticated cognitive abilities. In many ways, dogs have become specialists in understanding humans. Their survival has depended upon it for thousands of years. But humans changed as well. Living alongside dogs altered our own behavior. Families learned to trust another species. Children grew up playing with animals rather than fearing every predator. Communities that successfully partnered with dogs often hunted more efficiently, defended themselves more effectively, and expanded into environments that would otherwise have been far more dangerous. Some researchers even suggest that dogs may have helped humans spread into colder regions after the last ice age. Their superior senses improved hunting success. Their warning barks reduced surprise attacks from predators. Their companionship may even have reduced stress in an otherwise brutal world. It is difficult to measure such benefits precisely, yet when enough small advantages accumulate over thousands of years, they can reshape history itself. This is why many evolutionary biologists argue that dogs were not simply passengers in humanity's journey. They were partners. Without them, human civilization might have followed a very different path. Imagine early farmers protecting crops without guard dogs. Imagine hunters tracking wounded animals without canine noses. Imagine Arctic exploration without sled dogs. Imagine search and rescue operations today without specially trained detection dogs. History would look profoundly different. Perhaps the greatest irony of all is how this extraordinary partnership began. Not through conquest, not through force, not through careful planning. It began because a few unusually tolerant wolves discovered that living near humans offered an easier life. And because a few unusually tolerant humans chose not to throw their spears, that tiny decision echoed across 15,000 years. It survived the rise and fall of kingdoms. It crossed oceans. It endured plagues, wars, and revolutions. Today, nearly 1 billion dogs share our world. Some live in modest homes. Others serve alongside soldiers, police officers, firefighters, and doctors. Many never perform extraordinary feats at all. They simply wait patiently beside the front door. They greet us with unstoppable excitement after an ordinary day at work. They rest quietly at our feet while we read or watch television. They offer comfort without asking for anything in return. Very few relationships in the natural world resemble this one. Predator became protector, competitor became companion. A wild hunter became a member of the family. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of this entire story. Humans often believe we domesticated dogs. In reality, the truth is far more beautiful. Over thousands of years, wolves changed to live beside us. At exactly the same time, we changed to make room for them in our lives. It was never a one-sided transformation. It was a partnership, a shared journey shaped by trust, patience, and countless generations of evolution. The wolf that cautiously stepped toward an ancient campfire all those thousands of years ago could never have imagined the future waiting ahead. It could not have known that its descendants would sleep beside children, guide the blind, save lives after earthquakes, comfort lonely people, or become one of the most beloved animals on earth. Yet somehow, through millions of tiny decisions repeated across thousands of generations, that impossible future became reality. The next time your dog curls up beside you, rests its head on your lap, or stares at you with those familiar, hopeful eyes while you're eating dinner, remember this. You are witnessing one of evolution's greatest success stories, a friendship older than civilization, a bond stronger than empires, a partnership that has survived 15,000 years, and one that continues every single day. Because in the end, humans didn't simply create dogs. Together, dogs and humans helped create each other.